in the zone.
I
Switch
gotta
it
get my
on.
head in the zone also.
I know, it's so hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wish
For
there was
some
a
and it
switch.
and it's a rainy day, and for some reason on rainy days I feel like I don't think as clear as when the sun's out.
Yeah. Well, living in England, we don't really have the sun very often, but
Yeah. So you guys don't think clear ever over there, probably.
no, never. I mean, I never do. It wouldn't make sense. Welcome back to Reptile Rendezvous. Today's guest is my good friend Tommy from Tommy's Reptiles. Tommy and I have been friends for we figured out about 2 years now, so which is awesome. I'm always sending you videos of Florida. We also have a mutual friend, Terrence, Space Coast Tortoise, who was episode one, and we will be doing a three-way episode, which I'm very very excited for. I've been friends with both of you guys for a while now. Welcome to the show, Tommy. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited. It's awesome to see what you've done with the podcast so far. I mean, we were talking about it. You just started a month. It was it exactly a month ago yesterday.
Yeah, a month yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just pumping those episodes out. It's awesome to see.
Thank you. You were one of the first people that I was kind of like, right, I want to get you on the podcast. But you were waiting for a fish tank, weren't you? Which I don't think has arrived. Yeah, because I think I commented on one of your videos about a fish tank, and I was like, oh my god, did it arrive?
Yeah, I don't know why. I always like watching videos, whether it's a podcast or just like a fish YouTube video. I just like when the person's talking and then the fish tank is in the background. You see the fish swimming all around and stuff. So in the future, whenever I do some kind of interview or podcast, I want that behind me, but the tank's not ready yet. So
It would be good if you. Oh, I'll look into it. Maybe you can get a virtual fish background or something, just like
yeah,
screensaver style.
I should have done that idea to sit in my outdoor frill dragon enclosure, but hey, next time I will.
Next time, I'm slightly disappointed, but there's always next time. We got 4 minutes into. That's what I'll put on my reptile rendezvous bingo as well. Is
Yeah.
Alex complains about the Wi-Fi. I don't know if you saw that. I did put it on my story, but then I'll send it to you if you didn't see it. I'm gonna make a post about it, but I've got quite a few on there. I haven't got around to
Yeah.
posting it. I forgot what day it was as well, and I went, it's Friday today, as in yesterday. I haven't posted that the new episode is out. Whoops.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I like the little snippets you're making of, the highlights of the episodes. Like we were talking about the one with Jack and the butterfly, and then you put that music in the background. And then the one that comes to mind that I think is super funny, and I was like, what is going on here is Dan the Turtle Man when he randomly comes out dressed like a shrimp. That was funny.
that was that was one of the highlights of there's been a few highlights, and that was because that was only episode 4, I think. And we were talking about the music video that he's done because he's got a separate channel. Of course, I'm going to plug him. He's got a separate channel that's called Danoramic. So it's just spelt like panoramic, but just Danoramic. And
Yeah.
he's got all sorts of just hilarious stuff on there. And one was a music video that he made, and he was dressed as a shrimp, and like shrimp frying rice. That's one of his one of his things. So yeah, and I just said to him, I don't know if you've watched that episode like in its entirety, but it was.
Yeah.
I was like,
I,
yeah, I was like, go and get it, go get it on. You have to wear it now. And then he refused to wear the fly costume. Like it was hilarious, just generally hilarious. And then the fact that he just went all out, just birds made a home in it. And I was just
yeah.
like, I put it outside, and birds made a home in it, and it
Yeah,
was just so.
it's funny because I always watched YouTube just for whatever I felt like watching, like stuff on Bigfoot, random videos. And then when I started to get back into reptiles, I was I don't know if you guys have Trader Joe's over there, but it's like a grocery store
I know
over
what it
here.
is, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what the deal is, but I was in there with my wife and when we lived in Virginia Beach, and it's just filled with like rich middle-aged ladies, and they're just pushing, knocking you over with carts and stuff. And I just was like, I'm gonna have a panic attack in here. And then she's like, just walk next door and just go in the pet shop and look around. And at this point I haven't had reptiles in 10 years or something like that. And I was just walking up and down, and I was like, oh, fish tank. And I was like, and then I just randomly bought a fish tank and then set that up. And then I was like, hey, I forgot I like reptiles. What can I put in a fish tank? You know, and I was like, oh, a turtle. And then I got into the diamondback terrapins. And then I didn't realize that there was such thing as reptile YouTubers or whatever. And I typed in diamondback terrapin videos, and then Dan the Turtle Man popped up. So I
Yeah.
watched like all of his old videos on that, and then I reached out and I asked him questions, and he's always been helpful with answering any questions about the terrapins and stuff. And it's cool to see, yeah, because he started making videos when he was like a little kid, pretty much, and now, you know, he obviously still makes turtle content, but it's cool to see that he branched off and does all this other wild stuff. Like he I don't know how he builds this stuff, but you saw he has the shrimp fried rice or whatever.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the fly taser that zaps you, it's controlled by a fly. It's all the programming, and he does explain it a little bit in the other episode, in his
Yeah.
episode, and it's just, I just love it. It's just chaos. It's, you know, it's embracing every single inclusive thought and wild imaginary like ideas that he has, and well, it's called it the dantism, I think. That's what Greg called it, dantism. Going off on a tangent. That was, yeah, there's loads of Dan. The name Dan is really easy to make like word puns out of, which is
That's
quite
my
fun.
dad's name. That's my dad's name, and a lot of people call him Dan the Man.
Dan the Man, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good as well. I don't think anything rhymes with Alex, so
We could probably find something that rhymes with that.
that's what everyone says, and then they're just like, oh, there isn't anything. Like, it's like, well, yeah, it's my name. Like, I'll know. Like Alexandra, there's just no way that anything rhymes with that.
I bet
So,
Eminem could figure it out.
probably, yeah, he probably could. He's not on the same level as us mere mortals, so
Yeah. Well, he's
Hello,
not.
child.
He can't come on this podcast because he doesn't have any pet reptiles, so he's not on our level. You know.
yeah, there's different levels. People have different strong points. Yeah, that's such a good way to think about it. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about you. And we did briefly go over it, but you talk about it. It's your life, so
Okay. I'll kind of run it down and incorporate how I got into reptiles also, because my entire life has kind of been around reptiles. So I was born in Connecticut, raised in Connecticut, and so when I was a little kid, I don't know, I think there was just like a combination of things that all hit me from different angles that like kind of turned a switch on in my brain or whatever happened. But when I was a little kid, Ninja Turtles just got big, and I was obsessed with Ninja Turtles. I would go to the video store and always rent this movie. Actually, you got to watch this movie. It's called Frog. It's from like 1986, 87, but it's I remember I'd always rent it, and then I started like frogs, and then my grandmother, every time she saw me, she'd get me a little like frog decoration. So I had this frog collection, and then my dad was a police officer at the time. So anytime somebody called and said, there's a giant spider in my basement, could you come get it out? He would put it in a little cup and bring it home so I could like look at it. And then if he saw a turtle on the drive home in the road, he would bring it home to me, and then it all just made me obsessed. So then I would be begging my parents for an iguana for years, and then they got me my first iguana when I was 7. But yeah, so born and raised in a little town called Branford, Connecticut. And there's not many reptiles out there, but in the summertime, me and my neighbors would go looking for turtles, and would catch turtles, frogs. There's a few species of snakes there, like, you know, garter snakes and stuff like that. We'd catch that. And then I moved to Boston. I went to college in Boston for 4 years. And while I was in college there, I had an iguana in my room. I built a big wooden enclosure for that iguana. And then after that, I joined the Navy and ended up giving my iguana to a zoo. And so she got to go to a big, giant zoo exhibit, which is cool. Joined the Navy, was in the Navy for 10 years, and kind of got out of the reptile game. And before that, everyone was just keeping lizards and snakes and stuff like fish tanks, or like build a little wooden box and put a piece of glass in the front of it. Nothing crazy. And then randomly, when I was getting out of the Navy, I told that story how I went to, you know, I had a meltdown in that grocery store, went to the pet shop, and then I started going on YouTube, and I was like, what's a bioactive enclosure? That's insane. You know, you can have a little ecosystem in your house. You don't have to clean it as much. It smells better, and the little isopods and springtails clean it up. And then all these new enclosures are coming out, like big ones, spacious ones. So I was like, this is awesome. So I got sucked right back into it. So when I got out of the Navy, my wife and I moved down to the best place for reptiles, South Florida. And my whole goal here is to be able to keep most of my reptiles outdoors, which I just started. So hopefully this winter I can build 2 or 3 more big enclosures. And I only want to keep the reptiles inside that need to be inside. Or like I have poison dart frogs. Those things would die in 10 minutes if they're outside in this heat, you know? It's the rundown of my story, I guess.
Every time when you said join the Navy, I was like, even let me have, like from The Simpsons, with
Yeah.
join the Navy. I'll have to add that as like B-roll.
Yeah.
Don't sue me. Don't sue me. Is it Fox that no? Or Disney owns The Simpsons now, doesn't it?
I think Disney owns so many things now. It's crazy.
Yeah. If you don't know who owns it, it's probably Disney.
Yeah.
And then it reminds me of the Bloodhound Gang song called Ralph Wiggum, which is literally just a song made out of Ralph Wiggum quotes. It's amazing. It's so good. Bloodhound Gang is so underrated. They have so many good songs, and it's just like the 2 songs. Like it's the Bad Touch and Foxtrot Uniform Charlie Kilo that most people know. It's like they have so many good ones. They talk absolute nonsense, but they're just strangely catchy as well. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I've got like a playlist on my Spotify, and it's got like I think I know like pretty much all of their songs. Trying to remember to look more like central, but there's always some sort of animal in front of me. If it's not my chinchilla, it's this time it's the dog. Let's talk about what animals you currently have.
All right. Let me. I'm in my reptile room right now, so I can kind of just look around. So I just recently adopted a water dragon that was in kind of a bad situation. That water dragon's doing great. Right now I think it's a she. I have her in like the equivalent of like a 40-gallon, but that's just because I don't want to put her in a giant enclosure yet. I want her arms and muscles to build first, but she's doing great. She's eating. I've been giving her like a fair amount of vitamins and stuff. So water dragon, 5 frill dragons, quince monitor, 2 diamondback terrapins, 2 Mississippi map turtles, 1 Belize slider, 2 box turtles, a Brazilian rainbow boa, 4 poison dart frogs, and African cichlids, and I think that's it. I think.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, you got to mentally go around the room. Like if you're not in the room, you've got to mentally go around the room, and then I think that's it. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot the most important one. My dog Pongo, the Dalmatian.
Oh yeah, who I had the pleasure of meeting. So hopefully we can get all the clickbait and just be like, oh, there's a Dalmatian, and then just show him at the end. Just show him at the end, and then people will have to wait. I'll have YouTube chapters, so if he does come up, I'll just be like, doggo. Just add that as a chapter. You know where I'm going to want to start. I mean, I love all of them, of course, but you and I both have an intense love for frillies. So how did you end up with 5 frilly necks?
All right, so this story is kind of random, but so when I was in Virginia and we were planning on moving down here, I was like, I really like, my first reptile I ever had was an iguana, so I was like, I want to get an iguana. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing this word right. It's called axanthic, I think. It's like a light blue color. Either way, I think that's how it's pronounced, but it's like you can get it's an morph of common green iguana, but it's like a light blue color, and I was like, I want an axanthic iguana. I'll raise it inside in a little enclosure, and then eventually I'll put it outside in a nice walk-in enclosure with all the plants and stuff. And so we moved down here. I was getting ready to get the iguana, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, they made it illegal to own iguanas as pets in the state of Florida because they're everywhere.
Invasive.
So
yeah,
and I was like, dang, I really wanted that iguana, and I was like, what other lizards do I really like? And I always loved frilled dragons. In England, do you guys call them frilled dragons or frilled neck lizards or frilled lizards? What do you guys call them?
I think it's just a mixture, like frilly necks, frilled dragons, frilly neck lizard. It's just I think my go-to is probably just frilly necks, but they are unique. Yeah. They have their own personalities, and they're just different to others and to other lizards. But then lots of lizards are like that, because I also have a Chinese water dragon, and he's completely different to a bearded dragon, or like they're so unique. And this is another thing that I think, if you're not a reptile person, or you've never kept, or you don't have experience with these animals, that you don't realize how, like, if you just think, I don't know, if people just sort of think, oh, lizards are all kind of similar in the way that they do things and the way that they behave and stuff, but they're also different.
Yeah. So I was thinking, what other kind of, I wanted pet lizards, so what other lizards do I like? And I remembered in Virginia one time when I was going to the reptile shop, I saw a baby frilled dragon, and I was like, weird, I didn't even know that you could have those as pets here. And then I like looked up the Florida laws. I was like, can you have a frilled dragon as a pet? And I was excited. I was excited to get my first one. And I don't know what happened in England, but during COVID, so at this time I got out of the Navy. I was going back to school using the GI Bill, and they give you a little bit of money for like rent and stuff while you're going to school. And I didn't have I was looking for a job, couldn't find one at the time, and my wife was working. And the government here sent you stimulus checks. I don't know if they did that in England, but so they sent you like a couple checks for $400 or something like that. And and so they sent
something similar. I was just looking down at my phone because I was like, why is there someone at my door right now? I don't recognize who it is though, so they can wait. All right, are we back?
Yep. You want me to continue? You want me to continue with that stimulus thing?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, no problem, no problem.
I just wanted to check that it wasn't anything, so hopefully I can just splice it together just to not have just like a minute of me going, who's at my door?
Yeah, good thing he wasn't like ringing the doorbell over and over again, you know?
I've got my phone on silent, so I always make sure I put it on silent, just because there's always something. When you're busy, then there's always someone that needs to get hold of you or tries to ring you, or someone at your front door. And obviously I'm away from home, so I need to just double check who it is. It's always, and then when you have loads of time, everyone's always like really busy. But then again, gaining a bit more of a following and doing collaboration posts with people that have like loads of followers and stuff, you'll have like hundreds of notifications come through at once, and I'm just like, I am not used to this. Please do continue. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, no problem. So I, long story short, I used the stimulus check because I told you I didn't have a job at the time I was looking, and so I used the $400. I found a frilled dragon. I didn't even know at this point that you could also order reptiles online and have them overnighted to your doorstep.
I've got to say it. If anybody does or is interested in doing overnight shipping or shipping a reptile to you, just make sure that the company cares for the animals, gets them from good sources, good breeders, and the boxes are appropriate, making sure that they have appropriate heat, they're not dehydrated, etc., etc. So make sure you always do your research.
Yep. I guess I have had, I did know that you could do that before because I got a turtle that way, but I was like, a lizard is like, I was shocked by that because it came from California. The turtle I ordered just was a couple states over. So I ordered that the first frilled dragon with my stimulus check. I had a little enclosure. I went and just bought like one of the medium-sized Exoterras, set it up because it was a baby. And wow, right when I opened the box, I was like, this thing is awesome. And then automatically became my favorite reptile because I've had a bunch of different reptiles in the past, but I was like, these lizards are truly
different,
amazing.
aren't they?
Yeah. I'm so shocked. It's so funny to me that they're like highly I don't know if underrated is the word, but they're definitely underrated. I'm surprised more people don't want them. I'm surprised more people don't have them, but either way, I love keeping them. I can't wait to start breeding them.
I agree. Yeah, I completely agree with you. We often go back and forth about different things because I've got experience with Frilly necks. Yeah, we often sort of ask each other for advice. That's one of the best things. Like if you know someone who has one or has experience with one, it's so much better. You can kind of, if you go to the right sources, find good information. If you go to the right sources, good information. But Frillies are something that I personally would recommend. They're just one of those that talk to someone who actually physically has experience. There's a lot of different things that you have to do to keep them. It's like shedding can be an issue. What is the update with breeding actually? Because I have completely forgotten about that till you said that, because we were talking about it. That was one of those things we were talking about quite often. And I was like, let me know, like, let me know. And I'm guessing nothing's happened, because otherwise you would have told me, because you're a good
So,
friend.
so it's weird. Like anytime I reach out to people, besides like you and a couple other people about frilled dragons, a lot of people don't like to give advice or kind of help you because I think they almost don't want you to be successful in breeding or whatever. But I have another reptile friend. I don't know if you follow her or not. If not, you should. Her page is awesome. You probably have seen her. Bo Lizard, BOE Lizard. Have you seen her? She's got that awesome Guana Rocco. But so
Never
either
heard of
way,
that.
she told me that my female is most likely has eggs, and she says it could take around like 60 days to lay the eggs, but I guess my female's just holding them in longer. And she has all the signs of she's got eggs to deposit, but so far no luck. All I can do is wait, I suppose, you know.
Yeah, some people just don't want you to succeed. They won't be nice. That's probably something that comes up every single episode, that I just say, be nice to people, respect animals,
Yeah.
may life treat you the way that you treat animals, because at the end of the day, I said just before we started recording, when we were talking about all sorts of fun things and random things, we're just kind of a speckle, a speck on a rock floating through space. So we might as well
Yep.
make it pleasant. We might as well make it pleasant for each other. There's a lot of different complicated things with them as well. So maybe there is a silver lining in that they're not popular. They require a lot of space, like climbing space, and a lot of stimulation. I don't know if you agree, but maybe more so than other lizards. If they don't shed properly, they're kind of more susceptible to losing fingers and frills and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's weird because I have five, and for 2 or 3 years kept them all in the same exact conditions, same lights, same humidity, and only one out of the five has a shedding issue ongoing. And I went online, looked up what to do. We've talked about it a bunch of times. I soak
So many
him.
times.
I get all this soak shed aid, all this. I tried everything, and the thing that's helped the most, believe it or not, was when I felt like if I put him outside, I was gonna initially wait to put him outside. I was like, you know what, maybe this will help. That has been the
Yeah.
best thing for him so far. I don't know if maybe little bugs come up, crawl on him, and eat the stuck shed, but he had it all over his frill, and I would try to help him. I didn't want to rip it off necessarily, but I would, if it dried up, I would try to help him. And now it's almost, I would say, it was like, it was covering a big portion of his frill, and now it's down to this little tiny, like, half-inch patch. And I'm waiting for that to fall off, and then I think he'll be good to go.
Know that you have yours in perfect conditions, lighting, humidity, all of that is tip top. Usually with a reptile, if all of that's right, then that sort of makes the job easier. But with them, I don't know, maybe it's different. And then people are probably going to come after us now saying, oh, you
Yeah.
just don't take care of it properly.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's not the case. I mean, a majority of the time it's people that have never owned these animals that say that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I'm happy to take advice and constructive criticism, whatever, if you know what you're doing. But if not, it's
Yeah,
you know
that's good, because one of the things that I've noticed about the reptile community, because so when I got out of the Navy and got back into reptiles, my wife just noticed I've been doing this my entire life. I have pet reptiles. I like to take pictures of them. I have photo albums of reptiles from the time I was maybe like 6 or 7. And she's like, "Why don't you make a Instagram about the reptiles, and why don't you make a TikTok?" I didn't know what TikTok was, and I was like, "Okay." I'll give it a shot. And what I find is there's obviously a lot of amazing people in the reptile community that were willing to help, like, Bo Lizard, you've helped me out. A bunch of other people, Terrence helps me out. But then on the other side of that coin, there's people who just are, I don't know why they're negative, but they don't give advice. They just kind of tear you down. And I love when people give me advice. There's been so many times where
yeah.
somebody saw one of my enclosures online, like, hey, maybe you should try this instead of that. And I'm always like, oh, thanks for the tip. I'll try that right now. I'll go right into the reptile room, switch the stuff around, and it ends up working. And I feel like if it wasn't for social media, I would be way behind on all my keeping. My enclosures would be probably fish tanks, because I I didn't know that they had all these amazing enclosures. I didn't know you could build them. And then I started watching YouTube videos like Camp Kennan's videos, and I was like, wow, look at this guy, just has all these big walk-in enclosures outside. I'm like, that's the
Yeah.
goal, you know?
It depends where it comes from. If it comes from a place of care. When I started, my enclosures weren't up to scratch, and I've learned from that. And I've said previously, I regret it every day. But it was a learning curve, and if I can help other people through that to try and sort of help me feel better about the mistakes that I have made, then they're all in good condition now. I often say now is, oh, how big shall I have that enclosure or this? And I'm like, just if you've got the standard, whatever that is, just go bigger. Because I saw a video actually that was this huge chameleon. It was awesome. I'll see if I can try and find the video, and then I'll ask the original poster if I can have it as B-roll. And there were so many comments saying it's too big for a chameleon. There's too, and I'm like, the wild.
That exactly. Oh my god.
Wild.
Yeah. Everyone. Yeah. That's the big thing about the ball pythons. People. I know people are going to get mad, but the breeders have them in drawers, which is more understandable than people who have them as pets in drawers. To me, what's the point of having a pet if you can't even see it? And also, they're like, oh, well, in the wild, they go and hide in a hole. I'm like, they sometimes come out of the hole and go look for something to eat, And I'm like, come on. So.
Yeah, makes me think of another common misconception is snakes don't climb, especially ball pythons. So a lot of people think that they don't climb and, they don't need that enrichment where that's completely not true at all. If anyone needs advice, as I always say, I'm always here. If I don't know, then I'll know someone who does. I'm always happy to get I'm waiting for some more constructive criticism from the podcast, because I won't be offended, because I often start the episode with about 5 or so minutes of being silly before we actually get into it. And I'm interested to hear what people think of, like, do people enjoy the silly bit at the beginning before we get into it, or would they rather just it's always good to get feedback. So I always say no hard feelings, and if someone comes across from a place of hate, then that's your problem at the end of the day. That's not mine. I'll help if I can, but I'm not gonna respond to any kind of hate that doesn't benefit anyone. I might put my hoodie on quickly because the sun's going down. I'm getting cold. I'm being reborn. That could be the episode preview. Being reborn. So Tommy opened with that, and I wasn't recording at the time because obviously we like to do a little bit of a chat, and because I was saying how excited I was for this because it's the first time we've actually spoke. Like I'm sure we've done voice messages and that kind of thing. This is the first time we've actually spoken in 2 years. And I love it when that happens. That's happened a couple of times, and it's just kind of, again, like with Terrence, and it's really fun. And then I get very excited and start talking, and then don't stop talking. And you were the one that said that you would be talking too fast, but I feel like I'm talking too fast because
I have to make a very strong effort, because when I was talking to Terrence, I was drinking the same exact thing. It's just like kind of like a Cuban coffee, and I think it has espresso in it. And after the podcast, I was like, wait a second, was I just... And the whole time I was just... I watched like a couple minutes back, and I was like, wow, I gotta slow down.
About putting my hoodie on.
We're kind of talking about like advice, and you said you were open to like advice on the podcast, and I'm always open to advice on anything. It doesn't have to be reptiles. It could be how to make a video. If I'm doing something wrong when I'm doing my yard work, if somebody says, hey, try this, why not? Why not try to get better? There's always going to be someone who knows something that you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you know a lot about a particular subject, you don't, nobody knows everything about everything, because there's always new things being discovered. I haven't got any constructive criticism on the podcast yet. I know a lot of people are enjoying it, and the guests and who I've got lined up and who I have had and that kind of thing. But it's always good that I've got the comments on Spotify, and I've got obviously YouTube comments. I'd like to hear what people think.
I think you're doing excellent at it, and especially for just doing it for a month, super impressive. I couldn't imagine what even goes into having a podcast. The editing, like especially the longer the episode, the longer you have to sit there and make sure that you
Yeah.
cut out that part or whatever, and coming up with the ideas. Being able to stay mentally focused for 2 hours is pretty hard for a lot of people. So it's pretty impressive. I think you're doing excellent. I couldn't give you any advice on podcasts because I have no idea how to do it, but I think you're doing great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's not something that I thought would be as hard work as it is, but I know hard work and perseverance pays off. The episode with Jack's World of Wildlife, is 2 hours and 13 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's a long old one, but then a lot of the time there's the delay, there's gaps for, just pauses or having to cut out some when the Wi-Fi goes, or just get editing out ums and ahs or that kind of thing. Like it's a lot. It's a lot of time, and it's a lot of work, and then sourcing all the pictures and all the videos. And I'll always ask before, if it's the guest, then I'll say, are you okay me using your Instagram pictures or this and that? If it's, oh, I worked with X, or I know X, Y, and Z, then I'll reach out to them. I'll just say, are you all right with me posting a picture of the two of you together, or and then crediting them as well. There's a lot that I didn't realize goes into it. It's knowing not to overwhelm myself with it. At the beginning, I was kind of just like, well, even recording. So I was recording Monday, Thursday, didn't record yesterday, recording today, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Wow.
Friday. I'm recording, it's constant. I've got people that I'm trying to nail down, like Damien Duffy and Mick Fullerton and Savannah Bowen and those kind of people that are obviously understandably busy. The time zone doesn't help, the time zone difference, because Australia, it's either really early in the morning or really late at night. I always prefer to stay late at night, but I'll get there with getting them on the show. Yeah, the friends I've met along the way are awesome. We did the second episode with Anthony Pilioni. That's always a good time.
Yeah.
He only had an hour, and we didn't get to cover everything, but
I'm sure he'll keep coming back, like he has.
Oh yeah, no, he's like, I'll be a recurring guest, and I'm going to be like, I'm always happy to have you, but the viewers are just going to probably they're going to get sick of you, and it's like that. He's not the kind of person that you could get sick of. He's just a great person to be around. So I appreciate him. He's a good friend. Everyone has been just great so far.
Those guys, that guy Anthony, and then a couple of his other friends, they forgot exactly what it's called, the Turtle Room.
Yeah,
they do good stuff with like conservation and stuff like that for turtles. I've been following them for quite some time, and it's interesting to see the cool species that they try to help. I don't even know what kind of turtles that guy Anthony has, but he has some funny looking turtles like that. I think it's a black-breasted leaf turtle. Those funny turtles with the big wide eyes,
Love. I want one of them so bad. I've wanted one for so long, and they're very, very hard to get in this country. Again, it's one of those, I could get it shipped from the States, but then also, well, not just because it would be ridiculously expensive, but it's also kind of, there's a lot of paperwork, and I'm happy to wait till the right time. It's got to be right for everything involved. So the lighting is getting a bit dark here.
Do you mind if do you mind if I take a quick pee break?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I need to pee as well. I need to burp because I had a fizzy drink.
I burped earlier. I was just like,
I didn't hear it. It's always like when I'm tired as well. Like, I'm not bored, but I'll just be like, like, you'll just see I'm really not this pale, I swear.
Like I look orange, kinda.
So pee break. Yeah, no. I always say, don't feel like you have to like sit and concentrate for that amount of time. If you just need like a little mind break, a couple of minutes just to walk around or whatever, just let me know, and we can do that. Okay. It's not a problem. Because ADHD as well.
I'm definitely undiagnosed, but I feel like I have that for sure.
It can be great when you have that hyper focus, hyperfocus is excellent. And then the opposite of that is if you're not interested in it, you cannot concentrate on it at
Yep.
all. And yeah, it's swings and roundabouts, I suppose.
That was definitely my problem in school growing up. I was just like, why am I listening to math? I don't want to know anything about math. You know, I was like so bored with all that stuff. In high school, the classes were about 45 minutes long, and then the college I went to, the classes were 3 hours long. So that was insane.
That's quite a big difference. Yeah, 45 minutes to 3 hours. It's can't remember what we were talking about. What were we talking about?
I
We've
can't
got
recall.
it's just loads of different subjects. Yeah, you should get through these questions. I don't know what you're like. Oh,
Can you hear that? Can you hear that barking in the background?
yeah, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure you can hear me properly with that in the background with your hearing.
Yeah. He's gonna stop in a second. There he is. All right, we're good now.
We've done first pet, haven't we? Yeah, I'm gonna need some pictures of little Tommy and Iguana because that just sounds awesome. Not just for B-roll, just for my own personal things to
Yeah.
look at when I feel sad to make me smile collections. I always love looking at old pictures. Love it. So go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I actually have a picture similar to the one where you're little and holding the turtle. I have one similar to that I could send also, which is kind of funny. It's like a very similar picture.
We'll put them next to each other. I love that picture. I use it as a kind of, I don't really take a lot of selfies and stuff like that anymore. So
Whoa.
I don't really have a lot of things. I like using that for, just because it's also just really cute as well. That was in Germany at my Opa Shosh's house, my German grandfather's house. He had a dog that was really clever and like open doors and stuff. And yeah, doggy. Surely it doesn't take that much bandwidth just to stream, does it?
I don't know.
Surely.
Do you think it might have something to do with it might have something to do with how we're across the Atlantic Ocean? I don't know.
That was really weird because I heard you laughing, but your face had frozen. So
Yeah.
your face was just like that. But then I heard you go, ha ha ha. And I was like, that's really weird. I don't know. You'd think it would at least be able to go through that. I don't know. My grandpa, my English grandpa once asked if Facebook goes as far as Australia. That's such a cute thing. Oh, I love my grandpa. Rip. Rip. Sounds really insensitive when I say that, but it's just one of those things that I've just got into.
Yeah.
It's a habit, just a habit. You just be like, rip. Oh my gosh, the delay in when it's really bad though. I'll be looking back at it because it will put it all together afterwards. Like after it's recorded, it will put it back. So it's just two people just awkwardly sitting there like.
That's funny. You should do like a full minute of us just sitting there like that in the beginning.
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that as the episode preview. That and
put some cricket noises in the background.
just do that like every time. Yeah, that saves me editing it out. Okay, so speaking of Florida, Jurassic Park land, and keeping reptiles outside, what are some of the best reptile species to keep outside in Florida's climate, and why do they thrive here? There, it should be there.
Yeah. I mean, any reptile that lives in a similar climate, and there's some weird things. There's some weird things that go along with that because frilled dragons, where they're from in Australia, it's not necessarily the same exact climate, but I actually reached out to a guy who lives where frilled dragons are, and I said, "Hey, can you tell me what the highest temperature it gets there in the summertime, and then the coldest it gets in the winter? And can you tell me what the humidity is?" And he told me, and where I live fits within that realm. So I guess any reptile that can survive the Florida heat, and frilled dragons just so happens to be one of them. But I mean, iguanas, like obviously they're invasive here, but they're the perfect animal to keep down here. They just made that illegal a few years ago, but Man, that would be really cool to have a big walk-in iguana enclosure. I wish they would
That would be
allow you to like take invasive ones in as pets and kind of like keep them and promise that you're not going to breed them or whatever. But so I would have a bunch of them.
that would be good, wouldn't it? I guess there's no way to regulate it. That's probably what the issue is. There is
They're not.
can't
I'll tell you
regulate.
what. I'll tell you what. Those iguanas
Then
are
you
not
can't
going.
regulate them
They're
in the
not.
wild. Yeah.
They're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. They're no matter what the government does here. They're not gonna. There's no way you can get rid of them. They're everywhere. They're gonna be here forever. There's no way you can get rid of them. But I would say any iguana in general, like the rock iguanas, are perfect to keep out
I was
here.
about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, rock iguanas would be it'd be a really cool pet. But yeah, I would say iguanas are like probably the best thing that you can keep out here. And yeah, and they just love eating all the plants here, and that's why people don't like the iguanas because they'll like eat their flowers and stuff like that. But I like seeing them. You know, when I first moved down here, I was like, I can't believe I live here. Every time you go for a drive, you're gonna see 100 iguanas. When I go for a jog, they'll be just lined up along the river, and you'll see thousands of them in one
Sure.
jog. You know, they live in my backyard. And I've heard that it's illegal to feed them. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's entirely true, but there are some times where I'm just walking in my backyard with a big plate of fruit, and I randomly just trip, and all the fruit just goes everywhere, and the iguanas end up eating it. It's an accident. I always trip with a big plate of fruit, but the iguanas just come on in and eat it, you know?
I've got a ring light, but it just seems to wash me
that's
out
good.
even more. But
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Because if I put it like fully full, it's kind of like, bam! Everyone's just going to be like, seeing this episode and being like, right, she's had about 3 costume changes.
She's changed colors 4 times. A human chameleon.
Don't tell, you're not supposed to, that was between us. I told you that. It's not Frizzy's friend that you're thinking of, the Australian guy, is it? Australian guy with the frilly. It wasn't Frizzy's friend.
That's the guy who told me about the temps. Yeah, he told me. Yeah, cool guy.
Yeah.
And I'm so jealous. But you know what? After I've seen his, because it's not, you don't often see footage of frilled dragons in their native habitat. So after watching his Instagram, he's got the best frilled dragon pictures and videos of anyone I've ever seen. And I'm gonna take the
I'll
images.
add it to B-roll.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna take the images and videos that he's posted of the frilled dragons, and I'm going to redo my outdoor enclosures to look exactly like that. I'm gonna put whatever's on the floor. I think there's like pine needles or something. Whatever I see on the floor, I'm gonna put on the floor of the enclosure. I'm gonna get trees that look just like that. And obviously they can't be live trees, but I'm gonna cut them to fit in the enclosure. I'm probably gonna put like 8 of them in there, so it's just like where they are in the wild, and I'm excited for that.
I'm surprised I didn't send it to you because I usually tag you or send anything I see.
Yeah.
A frilly.
I like both those guys, but yeah, what is it Frizzy or Frizzy? I don't know, but either way, I like when he goes, another day, another dragon.
Another day, another dragon.
I love Hank the bearded dragon. Another day, another dragon.
Yeah, and Frizzy's reptiles is cool because so many people don't think that, as you know, bearded dragons actually do climb, and he showcases that because everybody in America is like, oh, they don't really climb, and then he shows them up in a tree.
How good is that dragon? And he's about 1.8 off the ground.
And so that's cool to see these animals in their native habitat, so you can mimic it at your own house.
Yeah, it's great for educational purposes, and I'll add videos and stuff as B-roll over as we're talking about it, so that people get a better idea of what you're talking about with the trees.
Yeah.
And my favorite video is the one where he sees the frilly and he goes up to him and he's like, he shakes his little hand with his finger.
Have you seen that? I want to say he's French. Have you seen that? You might have sent me some of his videos. That French guy who lives in Australia, who has the frillies that run up to him and crawl up his leg. Have you seen? You might have sent me that guy.
Wish.
My ring light just fell down. People think it's really scary. It's like, nah, they're all bark and no bite. Their go-to reaction when anything comes near it. I'm sure if I had frills, I'd be exactly the same. It is cool to see, and I love all the videos of like squishy outside.
I was gonna say about the frilled dragons. I like to bring them outside for multiple reasons. Obviously, I want to keep them all outside eventually, but the ones that are indoors, I like to bring outside because, first of all, I like them to get the natural sunlight. Second of all,
Very important.
I like to let them kind of encounter the outdoors. So they're gonna get scared, and people are like, "I can't believe it. You're torturing your animal." I'm like, "No, I'm bringing my reptile out." Imagine what their life is like in Australia. Everything is trying to kill them. I bring them outside for some sunlight, and if I walk by or a bird flies over, they're gonna frill out, and that's natural behavior, and it's okay. It would be one thing if I was constantly doing that, but I think it's great to bring them outside.
A lot of people, they might not know that your reptile sitting, your bearded dragon or whatever is sitting in the sun through windows, and UV doesn't penetrate. They're in the sun, but it's completely different to actually being out in the sun, having that direct sunlight. I'm not saying that you're not, I know you're responsible, but birds and that kind of thing, and they can't just skedaddle. What was that video that I sent you? And I was like, he skedaddled. It was a lizard. I can't remember what kind of lizard it was.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and he was running on his two legs, right? Yeah.
He skedaddled. That was a proper skedaddle.
My frilled dragons, I found out that they are pretty fast, but I can outrun them. But I'll tell you what, I won't bring my monitor lizard outside unless he's attached to a leash because he is so quick. I can't believe how quick he is. He is like a laser beam. I don't know if I told you this. I might have, but I had him out feeding him outside maybe 2 months ago, and something spooked him. He jumped off the table, and I thought he was gone. And then I eventually found him, and then I chased him, and he hopped up into my my grill. And so I grabbed the grill, I pushed it in my garage, and he was stuck in my grill and wouldn't come out of it for like 3 days. Talk about stressing out a lizard. That was the most stress I've ever caused for a reptile. So then eventually I got him to come out, but I had to bring my grill inside, not just in the garage, then inside the guest room. And then I put a little heat light inside the, pointing at the grill so he wouldn't get cold. And then I put some food on the ground every night, and eventually he came out. But I vowed I'm never bringing him outside again unless I'm giving him his outdoor enclosure or if he's on a harness.
I lost you for a second there, but I got most of that story. Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Oh, poor Walter. I wish you could tell them sometimes, like, you have them outside and make sure that if they do bolt, it could be you look away for a second, or it does happen where people's bearded dragons get taken by birds, or they just bolt, and then it's never underestimate them.
Yeah, it's crazy how smart the monitors are, and because I've had a Savannah monitor when I was younger, and then my friend ended up taking it. He wanted it, and I don't know why. That's one of the only times I've ever willingly given away a animal. But I gave him my Savannah monitor, and he took it on. But and then I've always loved monitors, and I was like, I want to get a monitor. I didn't know what kind to get. I didn't want to get a tiny little Ackie monitor. Those are cool, but I wanted like a medium-sized monitor that will get relatively big. And I was just, you know how it is when you're a reptile person. If you're interested in something, you're just gonna watch videos, read every article about it. And I was just like typed in, and then I found the I think it's called the Indicus complex of monitors, which are like mangrove monitors, I think peach throat, quince monitors, and one other kind. I can't think of it right now, but I was like, quince monitor, I'd never even heard of this. What is this thing? And I was like, oh, it's got a really cool yellow color. And part of the decision making to pick the quince monitor is they said that they are less apt to bite. Like, oh yeah, the fourth one on the Indicus complex, I believe, is the blue tail monitor. And I mean, any monitor could bite you. But I don't know if you've seen this YouTube. If after we get off here, I don't know if you're interested in seeing it, but if you type in blue monitor bite, there's this guy who got bit by his blue monitor he had for years, and it sent him to the hospital for days. It's crazy. So I was like, not getting a blue monitor. I could probably get one that won't bite me, but I'm just going to go with the Indicus complex monitor that is less apt to bite, and it says quince monitors. He's only bitten me by accident, recently, but it didn't even hurt that bad. Once he realized he bit my hand, he let go immediately. But he's not. I could just he's never gonna. He likes. It's almost like he likes when I come in the room. He comes down, climbs on my arm. I think I've sent you videos of that. He eats off my
Yeah.
arm all the time, and he's really cool. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, it's incredible to see how smart these monitor lizards are. You know.
It's always better to be safe than sorry. Either way,
Yeah.
it's just always better to be safe.
I eventually want to build Walter a big outdoor walk-in enclosure and have him outside, and I think that'd be really cool. And then I could move my Brazilian rainbow boa to his enclosure, because like you said, a lot of people think a bunch of snakes don't like to climb, and rainbow boas definitely like to climb. So I'd like to give that snake some more climbing space.
And it saves electricity for you as well. So
Oh yeah.
it's a win-win. Like everyone's
Yep.
happy.
Yep.
It's all, yeah.
I'm excited for the day when Walter's full grown and I can just feed him a big raw chicken bone and big full of chicken eggs, you know?
I love his feeding videos. He's so cute. There was one that you posted, I'm sure it was fairly recently, where he was jumping and then kind of fell off the table.
Oh yeah, he does that all the time. He knocks things over.
That's another thing, yeah, with monitors. It's like, it's worse than a toddler walking around. They just have no, well, I guess tortoises, if you have a large tortoise, it's the same, because they have no, they can't really like climb like a monitor can. But
Yeah.
monitors, they'll just be like, I don't care, I'm gonna just plow my way through it and just take everything with me, because why not? So speaking of Florida and outdoor enclosures, can you share some tips on how to keep reptiles secure from predators while they're outside? And what predators do you have? Because we touched upon it briefly, but we didn't go into it.
Yeah, sure. So the best thing you could do to keep your outdoor animals safe from predators is to have them fully enclosed, like I have the frilled dragon in, some kind of metal mesh material that'll the doors lock, keeps everything complete. It keeps everything out besides like bugs and little lizards and stuff. But if you can't do that, which I don't do that with my turtles, I have a couple box turtles that live outside. Luckily, my yard is fenced in, and it keeps the big predators out. Which in Florida here we have, I don't know what kind of jungle cat it is. We have some. On a Ring camera like a year ago, down the street, somebody posted. I think it's like maybe a jaguar. I don't know what kind of crazy cats there are out here, but a jaguar was like going through somebody's backyard. It might not be a jaguar. It might be like a mountain lion or something. But we have the equivalent of a mountain lion. We just call it something else here. But it was in somebody's backyard, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never bringing my dog outside at night without being out there with them. But so those could be in your yard. There's raccoons, pretty much everywhere in the United States. Those
Trash pandas.
Those things. I don't get me wrong, I like raccoons, but if they get a hold of a box turtle, they're going to try to rip it open and they're going to try to eat it. That's just what they do. So I don't know if you've heard of these things, but when I lived in Virginia, there was a bunch of raccoons, and I got these things called the Yard Sentinel, and it's just like a little sensor that you put it. I put it in my box turtle sanctuary, and you could change the setting and the volume, and you could also change what noise it puts out. So you could set it to keep raccoons away, and it'll put out this annoying frequency, this weird shrieking noise, and then the raccoons will hear it and run away. And it actually worked. It worked very well. You could set it to scare owls away. So things like Yard Sentinels are great to keep predators out of your sanctuaries and stuff.
The frequency of it. Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. and then the other thing that I would recommend that I haven't done yet, but I would, is this is the most basic form of scaring predators away. You can get like one of those fake big birds of prey, and it looks like it's just perching. So if an animal comes, it's going to be like, oh, I've got to get away from this. So if you have any of those, like the Yard Sentinel, a deterrent statue, or you can just keep them enclosed, that's the easiest thing you can do. I actually have a buddy that lives in Connecticut. He's had turtles in the past, and he ended up, I don't know if he still has them, but he ended up covering the turtle sanctuary with like some mesh or something like that, because I think raccoons or something were getting in and out. Luckily, I have not lost any. I've never lost an animal to a predator. Knock on wood. But I'm like a maniac. So I do rounds throughout the day. Like before I go to work in the morning, I check all my animals, and then I get home, feed my animals, look at them, hanging out with them, and then before I go to bed at night, when it's dark out, maybe like 10 p.m., I walk around outside, check them all, make sure they're all good, and then I go to sleep and start the next same thing again the next day. And I have cameras on them also. Cameras are a good help.
Oh yeah, I love it, especially like the more nocturnal animals. That I mean, I'm speaking more like rodents with chinchillas and that kind of thing with me. But it's always great. When I had a hedgehog, I had a camera for her at night, and yeah, it was always good fun to watch. Another thing that I said I was talking to someone else about was precautions you should take from like weather conditions such as hurricanes, because obviously we've just had Helene, or you've just had Helene. Videos everywhere of different things and people's houses being flooded. And then I kept thinking to myself, what if you have reptiles in, there's entire towns that have been washed away. And
The best thing that I would recommend for people who are at risk of getting hit by hurricanes and stuff is plastic totes, little plastic totes that could fit a reptile. So, of course, the reptile's not going to want to be in a plastic tote, but drill some holes in plastic totes, and then you could stack them. So I actually have to get more and start setting up more, but I have a few plastic totes. So just in case it was going to flood here or the weather was going to be too extreme, or if the power goes out, you could take the reptiles, put them in the plastic totes. You could put some paper towel on the bottom of it. And then if you're afraid that they're going to get too cold or something, you could put them in the back of your car, turn the heat on. So that's a very easy way to protect them. And also plastic totes, so if you have to leave and go somewhere else, you could bring all your animals with you. I obviously wouldn't. If there's a hurricane, I'm either staying at my house with my animals or I'm going to bring them somewhere else. So the plastic totes are great if you have to leave also. But so whenever a storm comes here and I stay here, I just go outside, I get my outdoor animals, bring them inside, put them in plastic totes or little, little enclosures, and wait for the storm to pass. And then I go out the next day or whatever, put them back out. Nothing wrong with that.
Oh, yeah, I remember now because it's just clicked. When I was saying, I asked you, what do you do with them? And then we were saying we had this lovely imaginary hypothetical of the frilled dragon, like having its frills open up and then turning into a kite, like a dragon.
Oh yeah, blowing away. Oh my gosh, we got to find somebody who can like illustrate a cartoon and have that happen, like draw that for us. But you know what I'm talking about? Like it's like an umbrella popping open or like a kite and just floating away.
Yeah, I remember saying to you, I was like, dude, that is so funny. Like I'm imagining that, and that was so funny. Yeah, we're gonna have to find someone to.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know
would be great.
You know anyone? I can't think of anyone off the top. Maybe I can AI that, but
I don't know if somebody told me this term. You probably heard it. Somebody years ago said, "Look, it's an umbrella lizard," and then I was just like, I started calling them umbrella lizards. I made a video of opening an umbrella and then Squishy opening his frill at the same time, and then I was like, look at my umbrella lizard. And then all these Australians were like, hey, mate, it's a frilled neck lizard, you idiot, And they get mad. They get mad if you don't call it a frilled neck lizard. Like I call it a frilled dragon. That's what we call it in the United States. And they get mad about it. But I always think about anytime I open an umbrella now, I just think of Squishy go.
Well, I was like, can you make sure you can get Squishy out so I can talk to him? And you're like, he's fully booked up. And I was like, wow. We have the funniest conversations.
Yeah.
But that was definitely a highlight. I don't know how I'd forgotten about that. That was so funny. Did you have him down there the whole time?
I'm right next to his enclosure.
Oh, hi, Mr. Squishy. Oh, what a gorgeous little guy. Hi.
Oh, he's actually shedding a lot. You could hear the shedding?
Yeah, that's a really satisfying sound. Oh, it's the resting bitch face as well. So many people are like, oh, he looks angry, or this, or they look angry, and it's like, nah, that's just their face.
Yeah. Well, it is his nighttime. It is his nighttime still, because I have them. So all my reptiles indoors. My My nighttime is their daytime because I want their heat lights and stuff on only when I'm home. So then when I'm not home, all the heat elements are off and they're sleeping, just to be safe because I'm a paranoid psychopath.
Hi. Oh, he's so handsome. Look
Yeah,
at
he
that
said
handsome.
he said that's all the time he had today. He said he's got to go.
No, Squishy! For a second, I thought you'd like fallen down. I thought because you were there and then you weren't, and then I heard this like bang, and I was like, oh my god, he's fallen down. And I was just like, no, I'm sure he's doing. He must be doing something. Give it a second. I was like, do I call someone? Like, what do I do? Not happened yet. Thank you, Mr. Squishy. I'm sure you can't hear me, but an honor, a true honor. I loved him.
I got to tell you how I got him. I got him. So I'm friends with this guy on Instagram, and he's a more of a snake guy. And he messaged me one day. He said, "Hey, do you want a frilled dragon?" And I was like, "Of course." And he's like, "Yeah, I guess he just wasn't feeling it, or he didn't like having a frilled dragon." And he's like, "Yeah, if you come up, he gave me like a very good price on Squishy, and Squishy was pretty much a baby." And I went there and picked him up, and I was like, "That's awesome." So that's the first time somebody's found me and then offered me to sell me their pet, and I was like, "Awesome,"
He's so distracting. That's the only thing. I've just sat here, heart eye emoji, like.
Yeah, and this is another. This also demonstrates when people think that they're always frilling, they're always going crazy. As long as they're indoors and you're not really messing with them, as you know, they're not going to freak out. Outside, Squishy would be a totally different lizard because he's like, everything's trying to kill me. But in here, he's, they're intelligent animals. They know that he knows I'm not going to eat them.
I might. It's that what is it? Cuteness aggression. It's called, isn't it? When you find something really cute and you're like, I want to eat you.
People see little babies and stuff. I always like, what? Because I've heard people say, "Oh, he's so cute. I just want to eat his face." I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. It's cuteness aggression. It's like he's just chilling. He's just, father, where am I?
If I had my little one on my shoulder, she is way different. She would be like hissing at me and stuff. That'd be too stressful for her. But
it's amazing the different personalities they have. Some are chill, some are it's some will, but then it's like any animal, really, isn't it? So
yep.
Oh my god, I love him. I put it full screen, but then I can't. Annoyingly, I can't get my questions up from
full screen?
If I've got it on full. Yeah, which seems a bit silly. If you have animals out at the same time, be responsible about it. Because I've made a video about it before. Just going against everything I say. Well, that was cats. I haven't made one on dogs and bearded dragons. It was cats and bearded dragons. One of those things is just remind people if it comes up. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff that cats can carry under their claws, and it's not just an injury of being scratched. It's what that scratch can turn into. And ghost. I mean, if I bring up my ghost face one more time, just tell me to shut up. I'm not a ghost. I'm not Casper. Yeah. So, how long have you been building your own enclosures for now?
Well, the first enclosure I ever built was when I was way younger, but it was pretty much just a wooden box for my iguana when I was younger. But like the ones that I just built for the frilled dragons, that would be my first big outdoor enclosure build. I've been planning it for years. So yeah, I get. When did I put that enclosure out? I want to say 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like 4 months ago or something like that. And now I'm going to build maybe 2 more of the same size and put them all next to each other. But yeah, it's easier to build than I thought. It took some practice to get better at building things. But yeah, I would like to have a whole row of enclosures so all my frilled dragons could be outside, and then also Walter. That's the goal. I'm trying to think of a funny story about the first project. I mean, the first time I ever tried to build anything that was an enclosure was when I lived in Virginia Beach, and I tried to build something called a turtle table. And it wasn't level. I'll have to send you a picture of it, but it was the ugliest, worst thing I've ever built in my entire life. And I used it for like 6 months and I couldn't look at it anymore. It looked like a wooden sink.
That's quite funny though. I'm quite looking forward to seeing how bad it is. I can't do anything like that, so I wouldn't trust myself with any sort of machinery. I don't think
Yeah,
anyone
well,
around me would either.
I couldn't either at first, and then I just kept practicing, and I would slowly build, small little things out of wood, and then I was like, I'm just gonna. This is how I approached the big outdoor enclosure. I was like, thing is serious. I got to make it perfect. So in the beginning, I said I'm gonna take my time, no matter how long it takes me to figure something out. I'm gonna do it right. So every step, I built that whole thing in a weekend, but a carpenter could probably build that thing in 30 minutes.
I'm sure there's some like prodigies that could put it together really quick first time, but
Yep.
unfortunately, it's just the learning process. But it looks fun. Like I'd love to do it, but I think the first time that I do it, if I do is with someone else.
I'll tell you my biggest mistake of building this one. For some reason, I decided to build it in the middle of summer, and it was so hot outside. I found myself acting like a lizard myself. Lizards go bask, and then they find some shade. And in where I was building it, there's barely any shade, but one little spot. And every 5 minutes, I was just standing in this little shaded spot, and I was just drenched in sweat. And so now that's why I said in the winter I'm gonna get them all done in the winter here, which is only like a month long, and it's not that cold. But during that month, I'm gonna crank them out and get them all done, so I don't have to do it in the summer, because that was not fun. I mean, it was fun, but it's the heat made it much harder.
I hate being sweaty. It's one of those sensory things that I just it just makes me feel icky.
I actually don't mind it. The only time I hate it is if I'm like at work, because at work I have to wear like a polo shirt or whatever, and I hate when I'm at work and I have to go do something outside, and then I go back into the office and I'm sweating in my work clothes. But here, anytime I'm walking around outside, I'm always sweating. But I don't know. I guess I'm used to it because it's always so hot here.
I was going to say, yeah, my body physically is going to absolutely despise Florida because I'm not a humid. I get heat stroke like super easy.
Yeah.
So my body is going to hate it, but it will be worth it. I've just told myself that it will be worth it. My oldest sister just recently got back from Orlando, and I was like, oh, what was it like? Like, was it really that humid? And she's like, yeah, when you step off the plane, it hits you in the face.
Yeah. I remember when I first moved to Florida, wow, I was the same way. I was like, I can't believe how hot it is, but you acclimate to it, I've been here, I pretty much lived in Florida I lived in Jacksonville, Florida for like 7 or 8 years, and then I moved to Virginia, and I moved back down here, and I've been back down for like four years, so my body's like acclimated and used to the heat. But right when being from Connecticut, it's kind of like the same weather patterns as England, and the first time I was down there, I couldn't believe how hot it was, and I sweat a lot more back then, but now my body's kind of used to it.
You said Jacksonville, I was like, it's the Jags, isn't it?
Yep.
Is it the Jags?
Yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I used to get free tickets there when I was in the Navy, and I'm not a big football fan myself, but a lot of my friends were, so we'd go to the Jags games and stuff, which was pretty cool.
From The Good Place. I'm sure I sent you that video when I was rewatching it the other day, and Jason says something when he comes out of the airport. It was either you or Terrence or both, and he said something, and I was like, what does that mean? And it was like a place in Florida, but because he always talks about the Jags. I don't know if you've seen The Good Place, but he always talks about them.
I don't think I've seen it. I gotta see it though.
Yeah. He's classic dumb Florida idiot. Just it's really, really funny, and it's just so many. I'm sure I would have sent you that. I can't remember what he said, but yeah, he's always talking about the Jags. That's how I know that.
Yeah, Jacksonville's a funny city because it's in Florida. It's the biggest city land-wise, so it has the most area, surface area. Not necessarily meaning it's the biggest city with buildings, but land-wise, it has the most. It's the biggest city and has the most square miles of land. But for such a big city, it's not really. The beach is fun, but it's kind of. I would say it's almost like a boring place to live. I lived there for a while, and I love going to the beach, but other than that, nothing much to do.
I was just trying to find that video.
Tattoo of the Croc Hunter, where it's Steve Irwin on like grabbing a Croc shoe.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'll send you that one.
That's funny. Yeah, Duval.
Oh yeah, Duval. People love screaming that. Yeah.
That was, and I was like, "What's a Duval?" Oh, this is it. Yeah, he says you probably won't to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes out of the airport and he says, and then you can just hear like loads of other people in the background going, Duval.
Yeah.
That's
everyone always screams that. It's just the county. It's just the county of where Jacksonville is.
I love Floridians. Floridians are great.
They're a unique breed of people. I'm lucky enough to live here now, and most of my good friends I met in the Navy, coincidentally, most of them are from Florida, and they're some wild people. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm as close as I can to. I'm not sure if. Hang on, I think she's asking. You want to come in? She's a black dog, so I could, and it's dark outside, so I couldn't see.
Yeah.
If she was barking to come in or not. That lighting's much better, isn't it? I should have just done that in the first place. Bad. Duval.
Yeah.
That is better with. Oh, Alex, make your mind up. I don't know. I'm gonna go for a nice warm shower after this. I'm sure I've told you about the shower pressure. Oh my god.
Oh, it's like better than your
any kind
house?
of pressure I want to be under.
Oh, speaking about Duval in Jacksonville, when I moved to is the Wi-Fi good? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I heard speaking about Duval in general.
When I moved there, and I lived on the naval base at the time, but when I turned the shower on and the water came out, or if I was going to brush my teeth, I would smell sulfur, like a nasty smell. And then I found out that all the water there, for whatever reason, smells like sulfur, and it was disgusting. It took me like a year to not notice it anymore. It was gross. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
You don't know why it smelled like.
I think there must be some kind of sulfur in the water in Jacksonville, but other people will tell you, yeah, the water there smells like sulfur. It's nasty. In Connecticut, I would drink water out of the sink, but here I won't.
Oh, Squishy! Come back! He's such a good boy.
Yeah.
He's just completely distracting me. He's very excellent. They love sitting on your head as well. Like any lizard loves sitting on your head because it's warm, I suppose. I'll often walk around like with my blue tongue skink or a bearded dragon or something on my head. Eric's a bit big to put on my head. She's a bit big. My spanner monitor. She's a good girl.
I want to get that her claw in your eye.
Or in any of my piercings. Yeah. She could rip out a piercing. So because then I'll forget I've got one on the side of my face as well. So I've got like a surface piercing. And it's very easy just to look with them big plows. You can tell my brain is slowly just going down.
Too.
Are there any common misconceptions about reptiles that you wish people knew better? I know it's a very broad question because reptiles and then, but.
I would say that the biggest misconception, or just what other people who don't love reptiles think in general, they think that they're evil, like a lot of people associate snakes with evil creatures and they're out to get you and all that. They're just like any other animal in the animal kingdom. They're here, they want to survive, they want to eat, they really just want to be left alone. It's a privilege to be able to keep them as pets, and it's awesome to watch them and stuff. But as you know, for the most part, any reptile I've ever had just wants to be left alone. Of course, they'll walk up to you when you're feeding them and stuff, but I would say a big misconception is people think like snakes are like, people always think snakes are super aggressive. I don't know. I've never approached every single snake that there is, but I would say that 99% of this different types of snakes that you approach are going to try to get away from you. They're not going to slither up to you and jump on your face and bite you. They want to get away from you. Unless, of course, you're approaching a giant anaconda or something. Or I guess a couple people say black mambas will go at you. But I bet if they have the option to escape, they probably will. Yeah, but I would say reptiles just want to be left alone, and they're not evil creatures. They're just like every other animal in the animal kingdom. They're here, and they want to live just like everything else.
Reptiles are people too.
Yep. You make a shirt that says that.
Yeah. Oh man, we need to get together and have like a proper brainstorm of like t-shirt ideas. I don't know how. I mean, I've thought about t-shirts. I guess
you got to have t-shirts now that you have the podcast. And then put somewhere on the t-shirt, I don't know, on the sleeve or something, put the name of the podcast, but have your slogan, and then whatever animal or cartoon, whatever you want to have on the t-shirt. I think that'd be great. I'll buy one.
Yeah, that would a surreal thought. I know we've gone over like what it is to have a bigger following and have people see you in a different way and be a role model and that kind of thing. And it's a bit surreal that people be like that, because I have like my Patreon and stuff, but people would pay money to have a t-shirt with something that I say on it.
Well, I bet you'll start getting some patrons here in the near future. You just started a month ago, but I'm sure a year from now you're going to be shocked at how many followers you are going to have gained, how many patrons you have. You just started, and you're already doing awesome. So, yeah, I think people will buy your shirt for sure. I think you're going on a great path.
Because I made a cameo as well, like a few days ago. I was like, I don't expect anyone to use this. But
why not? Just try it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I've got it up there. I've got it for people to use if they.
What I've found when it comes to social media, because I told you I didn't even think about it. My wife told me to do it, and then when I do something, I'm going to try my best at it. So I have a couple rules that I follow. For your content's much different than mine. You have a podcast, which is like a real production. Most of my videos are just quick little snippets of lizards eating and stuff. But what I told myself, I said, I'm going to try to post a reel every day, even if it's an old reel and I don't want to make a new one. I'll just repost an old one and edit it a little bit, and a photo every day. And I heard a quote somewhere that success is 95% consistency and 5% skill. And I'm telling you, I think that is so true, because the content I put out, especially my long form YouTube videos, like they're not that. I want to eventually get better at it, but they're not that great. I'm like, for instance, Jack's Wildlife. He's very good on camera. He's very enthusiastic. His facial expressions change a lot. Mine, I'm more of a monotone person, so it's hard for me to get all excited. Eventually, I would like to learn how to do that, but and that's exactly why Jack's videos get so many views. He talks about interesting stuff, and he's great on camera. So, but I'm just going to keep making long form YouTube videos, and it's slowly over time I'll get better, and I'm going to keep posting them. People will start to see them eventually, and the more you do something, the better you get at it. So as long as you're consistent, you're just going to keep growing no matter what. Like if I just had an Instagram and it was only squishy, and I posted a picture and a video of squishy every day, some people be like, "Oh, you're not going to grow. It's just one lizard." I guarantee I could do that and have Squishy's Instagram grow. It's just going to, as long as you keep posting, you'll keep growing.
Why does he keep pushing himself off your shoulder?
I don't know.
So many animals to cover and so many different, because there's people like marine biologists that I'm gonna have on, and that I don't really have any idea about, but I think it's really interesting to learn. But I just want to branch out as much as I can and focus on the people that have the relevant experience. If it's relevant, people can learn from it, and it's entertaining, then that's all that matters to me. Because a lot of people are kind of like, "Oh, you don't want me on the podcast. I've only got 1,000 followers or something." It's like, it's not about that. If you know what you're talking about, if it's relevant, it doesn't matter how big you are. It doesn't matter how many followers you have. It's the content at the end of the day that I just want to provide top tier, as much entertaining and educational stuff as I can and just help the animals along the way. Future Alex. This is past Alex. Well done, future Alex. Hi, future Tommy.
I don't know why it's a goal, but it's a goal for me to hit a million subscribers on whatever, YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. My TikTok, I thought I was going to, but then they turned off the floodgates, and now I can't get any views on TikTok. But my goal is to get a million, and even if I don't, I still enjoy making videos about reptiles. I'm still going to do it. Even if I had 2 followers, I would still do the same exact thing I'm doing right now because I enjoy it, and it's fun to go back in time, and watch one of your first videos, and you'll be like, wow, what was I thinking with that enclosure? What was I doing? Why was I talking like that? Like my first YouTube video I ever did where I was talking to the camera, my wife likes to watch it because she makes fun of me. Like my head wasn't moving, and I was like, I'm Tommy's Reptiles. Thank you for watching. and if I go back and watch it, I'm like so cringed out, you know? I have like a random brain where I think things that are not that funny are funny. Like I would think it's funny if you did like a random podcast episode, like sitting in the middle of like in a bush. You know what I mean?
That's funny. Oh no, I'm completely on your level. Yeah, with
or
that.
Like do one like in a bathroom. Like if you did one like a different podcast in so many different random spots. You know.
It was important for me to get you on because you're my friend and we're friends. And we have been for a while, and that's why Terence was one of the first people. You and Terence probably would have been the first. Like, you were probably one of the first people I told before I even told everybody in a post.
This lady right here is one of my relatives. I don't know how many, maybe like 100 years ago or something. Her name is Caroline, and I don't know if it was her aunt or uncle painted that portrait of her, and then it was handed down to me. And my wife it freaks her out because she thinks it's like possessed. So I was like, can I hang it in the house? And she's like, you can only put it in, she turns her head. Yeah, she's like, you can put it in the reptile room. I was like, fine. But this picture I've seen this picture my entire life when I was a little kid, and my grandfather would watch me. This was in his dining room, right over the dining room table. So I like have it,
I was curious, yeah.
This is Caroline's debut.
Woo! Go Caroline!
Yeah, I'll have to find out what she is to me. I don't know if she's like a great aunt or something. I'll find out and let you know next time. But the Steve Irwin picture I thought was going to be like bigger, and I thought it was going to be in a frame, and it's pretty much just like a metal. It feels like a metal license plate or something like that. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of a piece of junk, but I'll hang it anyway.
Spy as well.
I've heard of it. I definitely heard of it. I don't know if there's any difference. Is there a difference? But either way, we love it here because it's like a comfort food. At the same time, we also feel like we're branching out of our culture. Oh yeah, let's get some shepherd's pie and be British or Irish for the day, And people like doing that.
One's made with lamb mince, and the other's made with beef mince.
Okay. Shepherd's pie is beef, right?
I can't remember. Probably that would make sense.
I think so. Man, maybe I'll get some of that after this podcast. Oh, I'm gonna put Squishy back because I got a show and tell item. I got a show and tell item.
It's a little.
Do you know what it is?
No, it's a shepherd's pie hat. Yeah,
it's when I was on deployment, we had 2 guys from the British Navy attached to our ship. And we'd hang out with them and stuff. And one of the British guys was like, "Hey, mate, can I get one of your patches?" And I was like, "What are you gonna give me, dude?" And he's like, "I'll give you one of my British Navy hats." And I was like, "Sure," but his head is like way smaller than mine. I can't even get this thing on my head. But yeah, I was like, "I'll take it." And then on my ship, I forgot what day it was, but once in a while, my ship, just to boost morale, would have funny hat day, and I would just wear this hat all the time around the ship. But yeah, this is a British sailor Navy hat or whatever, It's pretty interesting, It's cool to collect weird things like that. But yeah, that's what he gave me. He had an extra one, and he wanted one of my patches, so we traded.
A fair exchange.
Yeah, I think I got the better end of the deal on that one. Anytime I put that thing on and start walking around my house, my wife is like, "Oh my God, take that thing off."
So you talk in a British accent when you have it on, though?
Yeah, and I march around. I march around like a British person. You know, I wish I got one of those.
How do we march?
Those the kind of like. I think you guys march weird and funny with your arms going up, and then I want to get one of those big fluffy hats that the guards use or the palace. What's it called? What's it called?
I call them the egg and soldiers, Meg. Do you know what egg and soldiers is?
No.
An egg that's been boiled, but it's still runny, and then you get toast and chop it up into long.
Oh,
bits.
oh,
Egg and
gotcha.
soldiers.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like like history of other countries, and I think it's cool that England or whatever Great Britain still keeps all those traditions and wears all those same uniforms and stuff. We do stuff like that here too, but you guys obviously have a longer history, so it's cool to see like the old uniforms that are still being worn by the British soldiers.
I'd never do that job because I couldn't stand still for that long. I couldn't stand still for probably about 10 seconds. But
I wanted to tell you another thing about the British. When I was on deployment, my ship pulled into a place in Greece, and me and a couple of my friends would go to this bar once in a while, and the bartenders would ask us questions and stuff, and they're like, "Wow, you Americans are so calm and relaxed," and we're compared to. I was like, "Compared to who?" And they're like, the British sailors. I was like, "Oh, well, what do you mean? They're like wild?" And then she held up her phone and showed me a video. She's like, "This is last weekend. All these British sailors and Marines jumped up on the bar, pulled their pants down, full naked, and were just helicoptering on the bar." And I was just like, "Well, I guess we are much more calm."
Yeah, that's something that would probably happen in a pub as well. So that would pubs are kind of like entering the twilight zone.
Yeah.
You never know. You always find the most interesting people in there. So
and then I ended up going to a base in Bahrain, and we were at the bar on base, and then a bunch of British guys were drinking with us, and they couldn't. I thought it was normal, but they kept making fun of me because I was wearing a backwards baseball hat, and I was like, "Dude, that's yeah." But they kept making fun of me for that, and I'm like, "Dude, it's the best way to wear a hat, man." Yeah. Like, "Oh, you freaking idiot!" But it was a good time. They were definitely crazy though.
Yeah, we are. Maybe that's why the idea of Florida doesn't really intimidate me.
Yeah.
Because I don't drink anymore, but
yeah.
Just living a fun life of sobriety. 6 years in January.
6 years? Congrats.
In January.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
Long time. It's not a drop. And it's another thing that people don't really understand. It's like, why don't you have just one? And it's like, that's not the point. I don't have self-control at all. The one thing that I've actually done and got a decent number of years behind.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mess it up.
It's definitely impressive. And I also don't like when people try to force people into doing something that they don't want to do. And also, since you achieved that many years, did they think you're just going to be like, you know what, just because you want me to have a drink now, I'll just throw all the 6 years out the window just because you want me to have a drink? That's selfish, I think.
Well, I think it's if they're drunk, if it's in that situation, it's usually going to be that the other people / persons are drunk and they just don't have that. If they were sober, they probably would think about it a bit more and not ask those kinds of questions. But I do. So Shepherd's Pie. Where can people find you on social media?
I'm on most all platforms, just as Tommy's Reptiles. I think it appears on the screen. TOMMYS 'S and then Reptiles on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I used to have Facebook, but I don't know what happened to it. It vanished. But yeah, also main social media platforms. And before we wrap up, I want to ask you a question.
Me turning the tables.
Yeah. Unlimited money, unlimited resources for whatever enclosure you want to build for it. What is your number one bucket list dream animal? Go!
Oh, I've got so many. I can't
You can only
even.
pick only one.
Oh, what if I made one that could have other stuff in it? So if it was a giant pond, I'll get Nick the Pond King to make me a giant pond, which I can have. I mean, if it's unlimited, I don't have to worry about keeping it warm or filtered or anything like that. That I could have turtles in, and it would just be like gigantic. It would be its own ecosystem. I could have tortoises on it on the land section and turtles, and then I could have all sorts of like a life exotic. Zach, a life exotic. I don't know if you follow him. He's got his like greenhouse thing, but I would make a little ecosystem, I suppose, which is not how I usually answer that question. I'll just say different types, or say.
So the ultimate turtle haven.
I suppose turtle, tortoises. I guess the question's not really if you had a plot of land, what would you do with it?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's I don't know. There's so many ideas. But yeah, no, Nick the Pond King would definitely be a part of the project. And is there anything else before we stop filming that you want to add or say?
I was just gonna say. I highly appreciate you having me on. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been an awesome podcast, and I look forward to doing them in the future, and especially to the one where we have Terrence on at the same time.
Yeah, it's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah.
If I'm at the level of excited I was just to have you and to have him, putting that together is just going to be, my brain's just not going to be able to. I'm going to be like, here's my friends. These guys, they're my friends. I can't wait to meet you guys in person as well. It's going to be so good. And I'll be over in the States, but Florida's definitely one of those that's like top. I have to go to first kind of thing. So it's going to be good. It's been an absolute pleasure having you, not just because you're my friend, just because you're an awesome person. It's been great talking about frillies and outdoor enclosures and Florida and everything with you. So I cannot wait to have you back. Thank you so much for your time today. To all our listeners, thank you for listening and watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I've got to say it because that's what everyone says at the end. And if I forget to say it, then no one will like and subscribe and review. And if you do have any constructive criticisms, then, you know, as long as it's not from a place of hate, I really don't mind. I want to know what the listeners think, what the listeners want to see more of, what the listeners want to see less of. So don't be afraid to send me a message, even on my main account, which is Alex and All Her Animals, or the Reptile Rendezvous podcast on Instagram, and feel free. And if you want to be on the podcast, if you've got a subject you want to talk about, if it's relevant, let me know. We're going to have some mammal people on soon, and some rodent people, and all sorts. It's not just for reptiles. So yeah, just hit me up, anybody. And most importantly, don't forget to stay wild.
Yeah, you said it.
Woo!
Woo!
Bye.
That would be funny if you did a whole podcast and you're just screaming the questions. Oh,
hi, I'm Alex and All Her Animals. Tommy, how are you doing? Thanks for joining. Volume warning.